Well, I guess you know from earlier that it is almost Halloween. But I always start early, just in case. And one of the, I guess for most of us, Halloween started in our childhood, you know. So for me, trick-or-treating was a highlight of my year. And we would make our own costumes, and we had a great time. The neighbors were all so nice and friendly. They looked forward to the kids coming. We didn't play any tricks. It was all treats. So I know there was a time when there were so many tricks that people stopped having Halloween and stopped turning on their porch light and stopped inviting children in. So I want to start off with something just to get your appetite whetted for Halloween. There was a woman at work in the break room talking with her friend, and she says, "I bet you I can talk the boss into giving me the day off." And he says, "No, there's no way he's going to give you the day off." She says, "Watch." So she goes into the women's restroom and she changes into her pumpkin costume. And she goes and she perches her pumpkin on his desk. And he comes in there and he goes, "What are you doing? What are you dressed like?" "It's Halloween. This is my pumpkin outfit." He says, "You know, you've been working too hard lately. I think you've lost your mind. You need to take the day off." Her friend couldn't believe it, so when she was walking out the door, he started following after her. And the boss said, "Where are you going?" He says, "I got to go home. I can't work in the dark." Okay. All right, well then, I have another one. Just as bad. These two men were walking through the cemetery coming from a Halloween party. And they thought they'd be brave. They were really scared of everything, but they're going to be brave and walk through the cemetery at dark. And they hear this tap, 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 tap. And they go, "What is that? I don't know." And through the haze, they see this old man tapping away, chiseling away at something. And they go, "Oh, you nearly scared us to death. What are you doing out here at this time of night?" He said, "Those fools misspelled my name." So, enough about Halloween jokes. I want to talk to you about letting your light shine. Did you know that Halloween is the second to Christmas as the largest commercial holiday in the United States? Did you know that Americans spend about $6 billion on Halloween each year? Did you know that 1/4 of the candy sold in the United States each year is sold for Halloween? Can you imagine how much we're spending on this, my favorite holiday? Thank you all very much. Well, it started 2,000 years ago. It's an ancient Celtic festival called Samhain. And Samhain was the festival that happened when harvest time, when the days start to get shorter and the nights were longer, and there was a lot of fear about darkness and a lot of belief in ghosts and the dead coming back to life. And so they would put lights out, candles, and then they would also paint gourds, different pictures. They didn't have pumpkins. It was in southern France, parts of France, Ireland, the UK. So they used gourds to ward off the evil spirits. And so by the 9th century, Christianity began to engage in some of the Celtic practices. And by the mid-19th century, millions who fled Ireland during the Irish potato famine brought trick-or-treating, brought Halloween to this country. So I don't know if you knew the history of Halloween. I always like to know the backstories. Because as a kid, I just knew we dressed up and went around scaring each other and getting candy. Americans started going house to house for food and money when Halloween was brought here. Now, Halloween, hallow means holy, een, evening, or eve, the holy evening before what the Christians started as All Saints' Day, November 1st. And All Saints' Day is the belief that that's when we honor our dead, and some believed in the old Celtic tradition that the dead would come back to life. So between 1920 and 1950, trick-or-treating was a real big thing in this country, and in fact, even into the 60s and 70s. So I want to tell you the story, the Gospel of the Pumpkin. How many of you ever heard the Gospel of the Pumpkin? Oh, good. You'll enjoy this story. Some of you heard it. So there was this farmer, this gardener, who planted seeds. And he watered them, and he pulled the weeds, and he tended to them, and he made sure they had enough light. And then the seeds grew into seedlings, and then plants, and then fruit, pumpkins. Mostly started on the East Coast in the New England colonies. One day, this gardener picked a special pumpkin. It was a little dirty from laying on the ground. He wiped it off. It looked clean on the outside, but inside needed some work. So he took a knife and he cut out the inside. And it looked pretty nice, but there was something missing. And so he took a light, if I can get this to work. Maybe not. Okay. Thank you. She comes from the Baptist church. They don't mind talking out. Thank you very much. See, in my tradition, when you see something that's not right, I don't care if you're sitting way back there. You go, hooty-hoo. You need to hold it upright so you can line up. That's the way you do things in the Baptist church. Thank you. So, the light, I don't know if all of you can see this, but it made the whole pumpkin come to life, right? Made the whole pumpkin come to life. Now, my son-in-law is he's an artist and an excellent pumpkin carver, and I was hoping he would show up today, but he got off work yesterday, and all I wanted was a simple pumpkin, but he went all out, and if you can't see it, it's a cat. Now, your typical pumpkin, the kind I would do, would have some little triangle eyes and maybe a little triangle nose, and it might even look sort of like a mouth, but he's really talented in that, so I thank James for doing this for me. But I wanted to demonstrate this because it's about us. We're like the pumpkin. You see, we have a lot of goo inside of us. I asked him to save the goo for me. And we've got some nice seeds here. And I learned in Bible class that if you take the shell off, you get the really good seeds that you can eat. Somebody told me you can put butter and salt on them, it tastes really good. You can make something good out of something that doesn't look really good, right? But this goo stuff, now you may be able to make something with it, or animals may eat it. But basically for us, what's inside us represents all those yucky things that we carry around with us. Anger, resentment, blame, unforgiveness. I bet you can make a long list of yucky things that sometimes get inside us. And we use the unity principles, and specifically prayer and meditation, to release those things that no longer serve our highest good. We scoop them out of us. We experience life based on our own reality of truth through our thoughts, our words, and our beliefs. So if I was full of this goo, my light is always shining, but you couldn't see it. And I wouldn't even be aware that it was there because it's covered over by all of those negative thoughts and ideas that I keep holding on to. So the gospel of the pumpkin is very simple, and it's one that relates right to our unity principles. We have the power within us to release anything that no longer serves our highest good. We have the power within us to see the light in others as we shine our own light. Didn't this pumpkin take on a whole different look once you saw the light in it than before? Well, that's what I see when I look out at all of you. I see your light. Even though you may be thinking some yucky things, and you may have some yucky experiences going on in your life, that does not dim your light. Your light is still shining. Now, Charles Fillmore says that light is the understanding principle of mind, illumination of spirit in the center of everyone's being. It always comes first into consciousness in divine order. Light is the symbol of wisdom. And you may remember me saying several times that one of the first Bible verses I ever read was Proverbs 4:7. Get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. And in order to get understanding, you got to have an experience. You got to experience life. You got to experience some of the yucky stuff so that you can reach a point where you get rid of it, scoop it out, so that you can uncover your light that's always there. So how does this work in unity? God, the master gardener, is good. God that planted us as pumpkins is good. All good, everywhere, all the time. Because we are made in the image of likeness of God, unity's principle is that, number 2, is that we are also inherently good. No matter how much yucky stuff might be covering up our light, our true nature, our true Christ self is nothing but good. You are good. Sometimes our thoughts, words, and beliefs cover over our light. But through affirmative prayer and meditation, we connect with our true source by releasing those things that no longer serve our highest good. We create our reality in that way, by the thoughts, beliefs, feelings that we hold on to, that yucky stuff we keep holding on to, not willing to scoop it out and release it for its highest good. So when Jesus said, I am the light of the world, in John, the book of John, the 8th chapter, the 12th verse, he meant that we are the expresser of truth within us. This is not our truth. Our truth is our light. Our truth is our light. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. I don't know about you, but I don't want any more yucky stuff. So I'm ready to let those go. And it's a practice. It's a work in progress. We come and we go into it and we go out of it, but it's the realization, the awareness that I'm allowing the yucky stuff to cover my light. Once we realize that, we can do something about it. So how about you? Is there any yucky stuff in there? You might have that big smile on your face like the pumpkin and that light shining, but there might be some yucky stuff that's dimming your light a little bit. What you see in others, you see in yourself. So if your light is dim, you're seeing dimness everywhere you go, because we live our lives from the inside out. That light is shining from the inside, but it's illuminating on the outside. So when we let go of things that disturb us, that get in our way, we let our light shine for all the world to see. And that's when we practice the 5th principle. We live the truth we know. We walk our talk. We make a difference. So what old paradigms did this message bring up for you today? Halloween, for some, is considered sacrilegious. There are some who would say, she shouldn't be up there dressed like a witch in that costume on a Sunday. Oh my God, that's supposed to be church? I told you, diversity is praised here. Some would say that Halloween is all about fear and death. But it's about life. It's about enjoyment. It's about fun. And if you don't believe me, wait till you see these children come up here at the end of the service and the Halloween party downstairs after service. If you don't have fun, you need to get some of that yucky stuff out of the way so you can let your light shine. It belongs in church. It belongs wherever we are, because wherever we are, whatever we're celebrating, God is. And all is always in divine order. So on the front of your bulletin, I included some scriptures that I thought, and some quotes that I thought you might want to take home with you. In the Daily Word today, we read, and the word is illumination. As I look within, the light of understanding dawns in me. As I look within, the light of understanding dawns in me. Get wisdom. And through your experience, get understanding. And then Jesus said, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's allowing your light to shine. He said, you are the light of the world in Matthew, the 5th chapter, the 14th through the 16th verses. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a candle and put it under a basket. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine, so that others may see your good works and glorify your Father that is in heaven. What does that mean? The Christ in you. When I see your light, the Christ in me sees the Christ in you. If I don't see the Christ in you, then I don't see my own light, because it is a reflection coming from you. So, how do you shine your light? How does your light shine? Just by being who you are every day, by showing up every day. You make your light shine. When you show up at this service, I see your lights. Even when sometimes we don't feel like we're very well lit. Have you ever had that experience? You just don't feel like your light is on? Or maybe it's a little dim today. Maybe you're feeling a little down. But I see your light. Maybe when you don't even realize it, I know your light is shining. So in conclusion, I want to know from you if you will take this take-home assignment. Get a pumpkin, scoop out the yucky stuff, and remind yourself of what that yucky stuff represents in your life. And once you've got it all cleaned out and you've got maybe put a little face on it and put a light in it. Light up your own life. As the saying goes, brighten up the corner where you are. And as David's saying, if everyone lit just one little candle at Halloween or any other time, what a bright world this would be. When you turn your light on, you get turned on. So I invite you this week to get turned on. Let your light shine. Think about that as we move into meditation.